The Vivo X300 Ultra is maybe the best camera phone you can get right now with large camera sensors and amazing lenses, but how does it compare to a full-frame Sony camera that, with lenses, costs around $5,000? Let's do a blind test. Guess which camera is the Vivo X300 Ultra and which one is the Sony full-frame camera. Let's see some footage from the 35mm main lens on Vivo and a prime 35mm lens on Sony. You can try to look for cues in the video to see which one has a more professional look. Then, we'll move to the 85mm telephoto lens on Vivo and use an 85mm prime lens on Sony. The footage, especially here, is very close to each other. And the last footage is from the 14mm large ultra-wide camera on Vivo and an ultra-wide prime lens on the Sony. Maybe you can already guess it right. Camera A is the Vivo X300 Ultra on the left side, and camera B on the right side is the Sony a7C Mark II. To start the comparison, I'll take some photos on the main lens first. The main lens of Vivo X300 Ultra is a 35mm as opposed to the 24mm that you usually see on iPhone, Galaxy, and other phones. 35mm is a perfect lens for portrait photography as it is not too wide and you can keep a nice distance from the subject. There are of course differences here between the Sony and Vivo. For one, the Vivo X300 Ultra on natural mode tends to have a more magenta look, whereas Sony pictures, which I took on auto without editing, are a tad warmer. The Vivo also has a more HDR look to photos, like the sky on Vivo in the background is more blue and everything is processed, whereas on Sony, you can see the background is more exposed, which gives the photo a bit of a camera look to it. Also, when you take the photos with a phone and not a camera, the computational photography will come to work. And for example, it does raise the shadows on faces, whereas on the Sony, Maria's face is darker since it was a backlit photo. Surprisingly, the Vivo here with the Zeiss coating did an incredible job of taking care of flare, while my Sony 35mm prime lens had some green light ghosting. And in this picture, the highlights are way better managed on Vivo compared to Sony in my opinion. Naturally, the bokeh that you get on a real camera can be much stronger than what you get on a phone. But considering I'm shooting on f4 on Sony here, the Vivo bokeh is really strong and natural. Of course, it doesn't have the exact optical quality and contrast of a Sony full-frame camera, but there is a point where you can't beat physics. There are software advantages that Vivo has though that Sony doesn't. For example, I love the street photography mode. You can snap photos quickly and change the settings however you want without grabbing too much attention with a huge camera and people shouting data protection laws at you. Before comparing the telephoto lenses, just know that I always post original pictures for members in Google Drive. I buy the phones myself, and if you want to support the channel and our unbiased reviews, consider becoming a member, or instead, you can also subscribe or like the video, which helps a lot. The Vivo X300 Ultra telephoto camera is an 85mm, exactly the lens that I have here from Sony. The advantage of the large telephoto lens on Vivo is that the bokeh you get is insane. Here, I'm not using portrait mode, even though it does look like I am, and Vivo bokeh is insane. Of course, with a dedicated camera, especially with the 85mm lens I'm using on Sony, you can push the background blur even more, and that makes the photo have a bit more character and feel 3D. Also, all the glass elements on the Sony will naturally make the photo have better optical quality, but let's not forget that I paid more for only the Sony lens than the Vivo phone. And sometimes I do feel the Vivo is low-key even making the picture look nicer. Like here, the warmer white balance was closer to what I've seen in the scene from Vivo. And in a lot of situations, there's almost no difference between the Sony and the Vivo, even though I'm taking zoom pictures, which naturally should be advantageous to the larger lens, which belongs to the camera naturally. That said, if you switch to the telephoto video, you can very quickly pick which one is taken by Vivo and which one by Sony, because it is much more difficult to compensate for the lack of optical quality in the video compared to a photo. That said, with Vivo, you can take amazing crazy zoom pictures like this one is a 700mm photo and the result is amazing, or this airplane picture, which of course is enhanced using AI on Vivo. With Vivo telephoto lens, You can also take macro shots, and I often use it when I want to take pictures of flowers or bees. Also, the Vivo X300 Ultra ultra-wide lens is a very large one. It is almost as large as the main lens on iPhone, Galaxy, and other flagship phones. The larger ultra-wide camera means from 14mm to 35mm on Vivo, you can still take great pictures and videos, and the quality is not being compromised. That's especially useful for landscape photos or astrophotography if that's what you are into. Overall, I'm not claiming Vivo is replacing a camera. For example, Maria is a professional photographer, and both me and her need a camera with multiple lenses, SD cards, and physical buttons to be able to shoot an event professionally, but for recreational work, traveling, and similar use cases, with always having a Vivo X300 Ultra in my pocket, I never carry my camera. The Vivo has advantages that Sony doesn't have. It is small, pocketable, have a large OLED screen that is always visible under direct sunlight, and has lots of fun software modes that a dedicated camera lacks, which saves time from editing traveling or recreational photos. Vivo X300 Ultra is not the only phone that does this stuff though. There are others like Xiaomi 17 Ultra. If you enjoyed this video and want to see how the Vivo X300 Ultra compares to Xiaomi 17 Ultra, watch this video next. Thanks for tuning into Techmo, and I will see you in the next one.